Hi, my name is Daryl Acumen. I'm a graduate student at the Marriott School of Business, Brigham Young University. This is a project video for our entrepreneurship program. What we're going to be doing is reviewing a concept called Mean It that is based on a workflow that I developed 20 years ago for myself. It's now been adapted to the web. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview of the research behind the concept itself, go through the interface, and then invite you to continue on to finish filling out a survey that is on, well, the link should be below the video. So the Mean It concept, basically this is a goal and dream management application. If you're familiar with The Secret, then this should be similar, although The Secret is probably Dream and Goal Management 101. This is Goal and Dream Management 550, the graduate course. So this is all based on some neurophysiological research, fMRI research by a couple of professors from University of Miami and Carnegie Mellon University by the name of Charles S. Carver and Michael F. Shire. The research is available upon request. So this image right now is showing you how our brain processes or deals with goals and dreams. Let's call them ambitions or something. It turns out that our brain stores two different types of goal and dream: positive goals and negative goals. Negative goals are things like the Christian imperatives, things that you don't want to be, right? Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't be a crack addict, don't be homeless, don't lose your job, things like that. And positive goals are things that well, sound like what they are, right? I mean, you want to be successful, you want to be a good father, etc. And it turns out there's a little portion of the brain called the subdorsal anterior cingulate cortex, marked in yellow right here. And what that does is called the SDAC for short. What that portion of the brain does is it measures the cognitive distance between your current state and the goals in your brain. Let's pretend that the SDAC is negatively charged. So the negative goals, what it does is it repels from them. It tries to maximize the distance away from the negative goals. And when it looks at a positive goal, it tries to minimize the distance to the positive goals. The positive side is what people talk about in The Secret when they talk about the law of attraction, right? It's supposed to be this mythical thing. You take a picture of a $100 bill, you stick it on your mirror, and magically the $100 bill flies to you. Well, what's actually happening is that the SDAC is looking at that goal, and it's measuring the cognitive distance to the bill and trying to minimize it. So there's actually a physiological explanation. The positive negative goals and dreams are actually stored in the frontal cortex, left and right frontal cortex of the brain. As you can see here, the negative goals and dreams are stored on the right side, the positive goals and dreams are stored on the left side, and they're actually stored in descending levels of abstraction. So high-level goals and dreams are stored towards the front of the brain, and then as you move back, they become more tactical. Now, in my experience, we as citizens, human beings, etc., are really good at negative goals and dreams, and that's because they're populated by our church, our school, our friends, television. There's always things around telling us what we don't want to be. And the brain is like a muscle, so it's got a lot of practice. The right-hand side of the right frontal cortex has a lot of practice and a lot of synaptic connections helping us identify and manage our negative goals and dreams. The left side, not so much. There occasionally things go in there, like when you get into college, you have a positive goal to finish and get a degree. And that's great. But you also have a whole bunch of corresponding negatives that say, hey, don't get kicked out, don't get booted, don't fail at this class. Because that's what we're good at. So what the Mean It concept is designed to do is to sort of help us get better at doing that left-hand side. Because if you're focused just on the right-hand side, it's sort of like navigating the Pacific Ocean by saying, hey, I want to maximize my distance from Hawaii. You're going to go around in circles, you're going to be all over the place, and, it doesn't, you could end up anywhere from the beaches of San Diego to downtown Tokyo to the shores of Antarctica. it's kind of, there's no real direction. And frankly, this is the way most of us live our lives. We're just kind of floating around, and we're just trying to stay the heck away from Hawaii. What books like The Secret and Think and Grow Rich and etc. tell you to do is, you take a goal, you stick it out there somewhere, and, well, in The Secret's case, the magical law of attraction will draw it to you. Well, what's actually happening is that the SDAC is measuring the cognitive distance between you and that, in this case, Audi A6, and it will observe, notice, find shortcuts, ways to minimize that distance, that cognitive distance there. And so The Secret and things like that actually do work, although for very real physiological reasons, not because there's some magical, force out there. So this is actually kind of a map of the layout of the brain and how where our goals and dreams are stored. Over here on the right hand side, you can see the negative goals, and as you can see, they go in descending levels of abstraction from aspirations, the to be or not to be goals. I call them the Shakespearean goals, right? Get it, to be and not to be. And then all the way back to proximate actions that you can take right now. But they're physically stored in different places in the brain. And what we're going to do with the Mean system is leverage that knowledge to build proximate synaptic connections to help you along. So we're going to start with saying, look, what are your negative aspirations? We call those fears. What are you afraid of? Well, I don't want to be a bad dad. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be divorced. I don't want to be a crackhead. I mean, there are things that I don't want to be. And so from that list, I'll list it, and then from there, I'll determine what I do want to be. I'd like to be a successful entrepreneur, for example. Now, once we have those positive aspirations, next thing we want to do is describe them. How do you describe a successful entrepreneur? What does a successful entrepreneur look like? Well, he drives an Audi A6, he's got a NetJets account, he lives in a $1.6 million house in Park City, and he's got a Mangusta 105 33-meter yacht. That's where I come up. Those are called dreams, and those are stored in blue here, a little bit further back. The aspirations, positive aspirations, are stored right above the left eye. The dreams are stored a little bit further back. Now we want to figure out what are the steps to achieve, say, the Audi A6. Well, I got to save up $12,000. I've got to have my credit score above 650. I got to convince my wife. I've got to sell my Volkswagen Touareg so I have space in the garage. These are goals. Those are steps to achieve the dream. And they're stored on the left-hand side just above the left ear. Finally, there are approximate actions or tasks that I can take right now to achieve the goal. So, in order to save $12,000, the first thing I've got to do is I got to change my 401k contribution. I've got to stop spending so much money on YouTube and on iTunes. I got to make some adjustments. I got to sit down with my wife and explain to her how, our Touareg's got 150,000 miles and we should really get rid of it. So those tasks are stored right above the left ear, physically in the brain. So what we want to do is create a workflow where you come up with 2 to 5 fears, negative aspirations. For every one of those, you come up with 2 to 5 positive aspirations. For each one of those, 2 to 5 dreams or descriptions, 2 to 5 goals for each dream, 2 to 5 tasks for each action. That'll give you about 128 goals or dreams minimum that are populating the left-hand side of your brain. And now we want to sort them, figure out what's the most important. Well, that's really hard to do. The brain's kind of like a Pentium 2. It's got great hard drive space, but it's not the fastest cognitively. So what we want to do is take the task of sorting through all of this stuff and divvy it up. Kind of treat the brain like a distributed computer, right? We take a couple of hundred Pentium 2s and set them at the task. Break the task up into smaller tasks. Have hundreds of little brains going through there and trying to figure out what to do. And so basically it's like applying a bank of supercomputers to the task. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's very simple. We take the list of 128 items and we basically run an NCAA Power Protect tournament on them. You don't need to worry about the mechanics behind it. The system handles this. It basically takes your list and it takes the items at the top and makes them compete against the items at the bottom. Number 1 competes against 128, 2 against 127, 3 against 126, and so on, until you have 64 winners and 64 losers. This is a little thing called gamification. We take the 64 winners and they go through another tournament until you have 32 winners, and then 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1, until finally you have a sorted list of everything that's important in your life. We take those now are in your brain. They're like a breadcrumb trail, right? So whereas The Secret just took one item and stuck it out there, what we're doing is creating a trail starting with proximate goals, that's tasks, to regular goals, to dreams, to aspirations. So we're building a sort of a golden path to your goals and dreams. In fact, if you were to run a regression line through this, it looks like we're literally just giving you a path to exactly where you want to go, where you want to be. All of this is physically in place right now. I'm going to show you the system. It's a cool system. It physically works, but the interface is, frankly, crap right now. So just ignore the interface. It's all text. I'm taking a UX class right now to fix this. So let's start here. So we start off with what are my fears? And we'll just do this one at a time. So for my fear, let's say I don't want to be, I don't know. I don't want to be a loser. I don't know. They're just making this up. That's a dumb one. But, okay. So I don't want to be a loser. And I can put as many, fears, negative goals here as I want. When I'm done with that, I'm going to go on to the next. And it says for each not to be goal, enter a corresponding to be goal. The text here is garbage. I'm going to rewrite it later. But the important thing is there's that little goal I just typed in. So for that negative, that fear, what are some aspirations? Well, I want to be successful. Right? Great. And I can put in more items here. Now we go next. So now it says for every to-be goal, for every aspiration, come up with items, features, characteristics, and these are called dreams. So successful. What's a characteristic of a successful person? Well, NetJets. If I'm successful, then I have a NetJets account. That's the dream. So we click next. Now, if I have a NetJets account, for each dream, enter the steps to achieve that dream. That's called goals. So first of all, I have to save money. And that's important. Next, I have to I don't know, spend less because I don't have to save for this thing. Well, it's spend S, whatever. So I put a whole bunch of goals in here to say, all right, that's what I do to get to the NetJets account. Then I'll say next. This is from a previous session. So save money. So now what are the, for every goal, what are the tasks that I need to do to save money? Well, in order to save money, I need to probably open a savings account. I probably need a 401k. And I can just keep going through this. Now, when the normal person goes through this process, they'll end up with about 128 goals and dreams. I've been doing this for 20 years, so this is actually my list. As you can see up here, user D-Acumen has been doing this since 1998. I actually have 595 goals and dreams. Don't believe me? Here's the list. 595 individual goals and dreams. I've actually accomplished 2,997 goals and dreams since 1998, but right now I have 595 that are active. Once I finish building out my list of 128 items, I come in here, I click Tournament, and it's going to ask me to log in again, which is fine. Okay, so I'm going to say a new tournament. And it's going to start asking me questions. It'll break down that big task of sorting through the list into smaller tasks. What's more important to me? To be good at my job or to hike Mount Kilimanjaro? Well, frankly, I don't really feel like going to Africa right now, so I'll say that. What's more important, to get my MBA from BYU or a Porsche Panamera? Well, I'm kind of torn between the Porsche Panamera and the Audi S6 right now, so I'm going to go ahead and say the MBA. What's more important right now, to have my mortgage current in my home or to help my nephew Nick Morrison change his name to Brad? Well, I haven't heard from my nephew in months, so I'm just going to go ahead and say the mortgage is more current. What's more important, solvency, to pay bills on time, or mentor my nephew? Well, like I said, he hasn't called me in a while, so he can, he can wait. So that's kind of how this works. Now, once you finish going through this tournament, you're going to end up with a list of goals and dreams with a point value for each one. The number 1 item is going to be worth 1,024 points. Number 2 worth 512, 3 256, 4 128, the next 4 worth 64, the next 832, and so on. We'll also have a ranking from 0 to 4 stars. 0 means I'm not even thinking about it. 1 means I'm working on it. 2, it's on target. 3, it's imminent. 4, it's complete. Now, if I have a list of 128 items with this point value system and this completion value system, 128 completed items is worth about 100 percentage points. We'll say 100% of completion. Well, as you can see in my list, my completion rank right now is 1,223.11%. What that means is over the last 20 years, I've completed 12 bucket lists worth of goals. So if you sit down, you make a list of 128 things you want in life, and complete it, I've done that 12 times. in the last 20 years. You don't believe me? We can look over here at my progress chart. Oh, well, the flash is not working here, so we can go over here and look at just a screenshot of the progress chart. This is it. As you can see, it's an exponential. It's an exponential chart showing my percentages since 1998. And this actually proves a concept that Stephen Covey talked about: whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. As you see, over time, as I started to achieve some of my smaller goals, my belief level went up. As my belief level increased, I achieved more goals. And it just kept going up and up and up. And so as my belief grows, my achievement levels grow. And I'm now at the point where I believe firmly that I can achieve every single one of the 595 goals in my list, including the Ferrari F355. Even though the Ferrari F355 has been in my goal list so long they don't even make the car anymore. So this is the concept. This is Mean It. It's a goal and dream management application. The types of people who could use this: MLM distributors who want to make sure that they are clear about their why, so they can stay in the organization. People going through life changes, job changes, divorce, such and such, so that they want to, really take an inventory and figure out where they're going from here. High school students, even college students who are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. Ordinary people who want to, just take stock of where they are and take an inventory. People suffering from depression who want to get their life into perspective. I actually don't know what the optimum segment is, which is why I ask you to fill out the survey. The link should be below, and make sure you let me know, a little bit about you and what your use case is, so that for those people who think this is a cool concept, by a more statistically significant margin than the average, we can say, all right, here's how we sharpen the competitive angle by focusing on that market. So, thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.